What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Nerdwide podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Chris Rivers. Now, Chris, I want to jump into it. We've got a very, very light news week and overall content, which is good every now and then. But I
Right.
just want to know, how was your week?
Uh, Overtime.
Mm,
So, yeah,
so, again, huh?
yeah. Again, it's
Yeah,
getting old real quick.
yeah,
It's actually getting ancient at this point. It
right.
passed old a long time ago. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I got our stuff watched. I wasn't able to watch anything else. Did get a little bit more of well, we'll talk about it later. Um, but yeah, it overall a good week, but just we've had some crappy weather too.
Mm.
How was your week?
It was a lot better, and I hate saying that, but I was off all week, so let's see, Monday night, did a daddy daughter date night with my oldest child, went bowling and ate some good food. And then Tuesday was Destiny's release date for the
Mm,
expansion.
yeah,
And between Destiny and Horizon Forbidden West, that's all I have been doing for all week long. Like, I
yeah.
played that Tuesday through Saturday. Saturday night went to the Predator Stadium series at Nissan Stadium,
Mhm.
which was a blast and not as cold as you'd think, especially with the beer flowing. But it
It
was
was
um, it was okay.
it was what, something like 68,000 people there.
Yeah, 68,618. I think is what the picture got on my phone. How many tickets they scanned in? So
Wow.
it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they all left in the second period when it started getting real cold. So we stayed the whole time. But and then so we're recording on a Monday. I ate dinner with the parentals last night, and I mean that was it. And it's just a nice week full of playing video games, which of course I'll get into once we get there. But watch some new shows with the wife over the weekend, and
Yeah.
which we'll talk about here as well, and just some just some fun new things. Nothing crazy though. Nice
Cool.
relaxing week sitting in this chair for as much as I'd be sitting in it for work, just playing Destiny till my eyes bleed.
Yeah.
So
Well, so fun.
right, yeah,
Because
yeah, I really enjoyed
yeah.
it. Quick housekeeping before we get into the bulk of the show. Don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating for your podcasting apps, including Spotify. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, make sure you leave us a comment and let us know how we can improve this show. If you want to do more, you can always go to patreon.com/nerdwide. A couple different tiers there if you want to support us that way, with a couple different money ranges that way. TV wise, I know you say you all only watched what we were supposed to watch, Superman and Lois and The Power of the Dog. Did you watch anything else TV?
No, not really. No, it just kind of,
Well, I
when that overtime hits, it's like you blink and the weekend's there,
yeah,
and then it flies by,
and that's
and
back
it's
again
like,
for
oh,
more overtime, I'm
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
yeah,
I
probably.
hate that so much. I have been started a new show called Space Force with
Hmm.
Steve Carell, and
Right.
although it's not The Office, it's still a pretty decent show, and they make fun of uh, the past president quite a bit and
Yeah.
some of the policies and things like that, because that's where Space Force was built under. And
Yeah.
so season two is under the Biden administration. Like, they never say names; they just say the new administration and stuff like that. And POTUS, which is obviously Biden and Trump and everything. And it's just
Right.
funny to watch that transition between the two seasons. We're halfway through season two at this point. So, I mean, we're almost done. There's not a lot of episodes with it, but it's pretty good. There's some good actors and actresses in it, and it's not as funny and as good as The Office to me, but
Right.
it's okay. I mean, I say if you got time to kill, just want to leave something on, that's one of the shows to leave on. And we've been catching up on Big Brother Celebrity, so which I could care less, but any of the celebrities on there. So
Yeah. I'm not a Big Brother watcher.
you're missing out. The 4 and 3, we're seriously debating because the new Halo show comes on Paramount Plus,
Right.
and so is the live feeds for Big Brother. So we don't want another streaming service, but with Halo on there, and then when Big Brother starts up later this summer, we're debating it because that's going to be a because you get all the live feeds, And
Yeah.
so, like, if I'm playing games or something, Jamie can have the live feeds on while we're doing cooking or cleaning or whatever we do.
Uh
So,
huh. Yeah.
or while I'm sitting here at work, just leave up on a monitor. It's like, what's the Truman Show? Just something like that.
What was the other one? Ed TV.
Ed TV, yeah. Just something like that. Why not? Let's get into this one. Superman and Lois is finally back. Season 2, Episode 5, titled Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. I'm going to a new website we're going to be reading off of nerdsandbeyond.com. This is by Haley. There's no, the recap is, there's no last name to her, but she published this, looks like right after the episode. So I'm going to read through it. We'll talk about it as we go. In this episode of Superman and Lois, Sarah celebrates her quinceañera, Chrissy meets with Allie, and more Bizarro secrets are revealed. At the beginning of the episode, Sarah is practicing her father-daughter dance with Kyle for a quinceañera. Taking a brief break, Sarah discusses her reasoning for wanting to change her last name back to Cortez, her family's original last name, before they change it to assimilate into the United States. Sarah says that this is part of her heritage and she wants to honor it. I completely agree. And I love how we started this episode off with this family dynamic and reeling from the secret that was revealed at the last episode with Kyle having an affair with the bartender. And
Yeah.
you could tell he is visibly nervous every time we see him in this show. And this scene was no different.
They starting it off with this scene really bookends the episode well.
Yeah, there's a lot that I'm excited about because this is one of those episodes we've been talking about what could happen and what's probably going to happen, and when we call it, I really feel like the writers listen to what we say. But we go to Lois's case. Meanwhile, Lois pays a visit to Dr. Faulkner, who is no longer alive. She comes across her body as Bizarro is huddled in a corner, blood around his mouth, just as he jets off. That is my alarm. Jets off. Lois calls for Clark, who immediately starts asking question, why was she spared and not attacked? Very gruesome death for Dr. Faulkner. I mean, her body was misshaped, her neck was snapped backwards, and they kept showing it when they came back from commercial break.
Yeah, yeah. Easy special effect to do, but it's effective.
Yeah. I'm really excited to. Like it was fun seeing this. I'm real curious to see why Lois was spared, because I mean Clark even brings it up. He says, "Is there another version of you that this guy's married to?" Because obviously paying homage to John Henry. So Chrissy seeks the truth. Interviewing Allie, Chrissy says her entire shtick is based on faith and not fact. Allie says that is a lie. Just as Chrissy begins to lose consciousness from being drugged, she's presumed dead for 7 minutes before she comes back to life. Allie congratulates her on her ascension. When explaining her experience, Chrissy notes it was a Bizarro experience. Our first hint that, our first name drop, rather, that this is Bizarro Superman. The world was so different, but Allie was everywhere. Just then, Lois bursts into the room with Superman to alert Allie of Bizarro's arrival. She doesn't get to do much before Superman pushes her out of Bizarro's line of fire. Very well done scene in a small little hotel apartment room. It was... I really enjoyed it because she puts the pendant on, and we have no idea where this pendant came from, because at the beginning of the episode, we see Allie in the past giving up her family for this heirloom that her dad passed down. Don't know. Maybe it's the Bizarro world, and that's how Bizarro's here. I really don't understand it yet. I don't understand how she has it yet either, because Tag had it last and gave it to the General, and now somehow she has it back.
This scene is one of those where they show how difficult it would be to be a superhero.
Right.
Because I've got to be honest, this is a terrible woman, and I would have just let her stand there and get
I just would have stepped aside like,
destroyed.
oops, missed. Misjudged this one.
Right.
Especially when we find out I mean, Chrissy tells Lois everything that happened. She's like, I died. She was everywhere. It's almost like everyone's afraid of her, and I'm very curious about this world and who Allie really is.
I'm also very curious if Chrissy is really back to her old self, or
Mm,
if she's now one of the puppets.
yeah,
You
the
know?
Ascenders, or
Yeah.
whatever they're going to call themselves, the Bizarros. But I
There you go.
really enjoyed it. I mean, Superman hears him coming, and he says he's about to be here, and shoves her out of the way, and they both fly through the wall. And I
Hmm.
feel like I've said it this season so far, the fight scenes were really cool this episode. Like I actually felt the
Yeah.
weight of the punches, even when they were flying through the air. You actually feel the weight of those punches. Um, and it was a really cool fight scene because we really find out this is Bizarro. Like his
Right.
he has frost vision and heat breath, or whereas Clark has heat vision and frost breath. It was really cool that they flipped that around. And when he was talking, it like I watched with subtitles, and so it said speaking backwards. Is how it said. It didn't give us anything on what he was saying, but it just said speaking backwards. I was like,
Huh.
oh, so this is really cool.
So if
And
you
like
could
it,
flip that audio, you'd find out.
yeah, like
What?
what he's saying and everything. And we'll get to that here shortly. But I just thought that was a really cool way to do it. And Tyler Hecklin all bizarroed out, almost zombie like, is really creepy. The blue eyes, it's just very unsettling to me. And
Yeah.
with him just twitching his neck every time he moves is it's creepy, but
You,
I love it.
you, you know what I found myself wondering about when we get a scene like that, and they never address it, they never will, is when they fly through that wall, where did they end up? How far away did they go before
Right.
momentum cut down? Because they're in the middle of the country. They could very easily have ended up out in the desert in
Right.
California. I mean,
Well,
we
they
don't know.
they hit the mine once and then like bounce around a little bit. So I'm like, it always comes back to the mine. Somehow, some way, there's always that mine is there.
Yeah.
Because Smallville, I associate it with that one mine that's there. Jordan and Jonathan spar. Jonathan takes a puff of the magic dust. That's great. Before offering to spar Jordan. Jordan is hesitant at first because he knows he's stronger than John, but he agrees anyway. They begin to fight one another, and John takes Jordan down with ease. John tells Sam, the grandfather, he's teaching the wrong grandchild. At the end of the episode, the two of them get in a fight, and the powers begin to emerge. Jonathan freaks out and asks for more time before they tell her parents. It's a little bit of the future there, but that's their storyline. This episode kind of wrapped up. We see Sam finally training Jordan, and Jonathan is like, he goes, hey, can I help? Is there anything I want to help? And so they go down to underneath the barn where Clark's ship is, and that's where they start training, just like Clark trained back, when he was their age. And we see Jonathan get more and more pissed. But to be fair, the grandfather is not very delicate with his words at all. When he was talking to Jordan and Jonathan, he goes, you're just not special or something like that. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, you don't do that. And I mean, that's parenting pretty much 101. You never say
Right.
one kid is more special than the other. Uh, but he does, in fact, puff on the magic dust and get super strength, essentially, in speed, because we see him ducking and weaving his punches with ease. And then he hits them and he nails them down. But how nobody notices that, this is super strength in action. I don't know. But
Yeah.
what do I know?
You you would think that Jordan would have realized it,
Right. But,
before
he's been fighting
anything
his
else.
brother his whole life, though. So who knows? That might just be, because they haven't fought since they had their power. He's had his power, so
Right.
he doesn't know.
Yeah. I'm just curious how they're going to carry this out because I still think
Oh, yeah.
he's going to get powers.
I think this XK is going to jumpstart his powers,
Yeah.
and we kind of see it because XK affects everybody differently. He had supervision at first, and that's how he was
Uh-huh.
making those throws. And the last episode, and now he's got the strength and speed. And at the end of the episode, we see him get start with the heat vision. So I don't know if it's his DNA that's letting him have all of them and not just the one, or what. But like we see Jordan's like, oh, we gotta tell mom and dad. He's like, no, let's keep this secret for a while. And we knew this is exactly what was going to happen. Somehow it's going to get out. Everyone's going to get really excited. We're going to find out he's on drugs. Everyone's going to be very disappointed in him. He's going to be kind of shunned for a little bit. And then he'll actually get his powers somehow, some way. Or like once he's off the drugs, he still has his powers. Everyone's gonna think he's still on them. It's classic plot lines, but it works for this storyline, and I'm really excited to see when we get there because I hope it's this season. I really hope it's this season. Kyle's double life comes into effect on this episode. Kyle gets a text from Tanya, and he meets her outside of the quinceañera. They have an explosive conversation about their past relationship. She confided in her girlfriend, who thinks may have sold the story to the mayor to hurt Lana's campaign. But they weren't alone, and this is what I was worried about. Sarah and Jordan overheard the whole conversation out in the parking lot. They were supposed to be making out, but I guess they got done early and came back to the quinceañera and came to find out. Yeah, you know how it works. Kyle's guilt gets the better of him. He attempts to break up the conversation between Lana and the mayor. During the father-daughter dance, Sarah begins to have a panic attack and rushes off. I'm going to pause right there because this was really well done. Like, she would not look at her dad, wouldn't make eye contact, and you could tell she was visually apart from him after this whole part. I thought it was very well done. Lana meets them outside after she rushes off, and Kyle attempts to explain the situation to her, but she doesn't want to hear it right now. She wants to help Sarah through her panic attack and celebrate Sarah's night with her family and friends. This speaks on Lana's strength as a mother, and the fact that she's like, you know what, we're going to deal with this later, but right now we're going to get our daughter through her big night. And she talked about her strength during the speech and everything. And we see Superman run off out of the quinceañera because Bizarro's awake at the fortress. But I thought, because Kyle dipped out first during the speech, and then Superman leaves. And I was like, oh, Kyle's about to find out who Superman is. We're to add another layer to this story. But no, it maybe, but we didn't see it this episode. I thought that would have been a perfect opportunity because Lois says, make sure no one sees you. And he goes, I won't. And he left. But anyways, I really enjoy the Lang family, or the Cortez family now. I really like their storyline this episode. I really like where we're going with it. And I'm very curious to see where we go from here. But I still don't understand how Lana does not know Clark is Superman. Or if she does, she is a very good actress and no one knows. But Bizarro...
Yeah, because, they had a thing in high school.
Yeah.
And he wasn't as careful back then.
He's in Metropolis a lot. Where does Clark live? Or used to live in Metropolis. See him around Smallville a lot now. Where's Clark live now? Smallville.
Now he and Lois are married, and who's the one reporter that gets all the Superman scoops?
It's not that hard. You know what I mean? Bizarro awakes. Bizarro is awake with Clark's mom at the fortress. Clark heads over, tries to get some answers. Bizarro claims he wants to save his world and theirs. They may not be at war now, but they will be soon. Bizarro claims Allie wants to destroy everything they care about, and they're going to lose it all unless they kill her first. It matches up with what Chrissy saw in the Ascension, or wherever she was at. So, is this the Superman from that world? And he's just like, he goes, I used to be like you until all this happened, and now I have to kill her before she ruins both of our worlds more. So,
yeah.
Overall, great episode. I loved it, and I want some more so bad.
But. Yeah, it's great that we have to wait because it stretches out that entertainment that you get from it. But it's like, man, I really wish we could just binge
I just want to binge the nonsense out of it. Oh, man. Next week will be episode 6, and I can't wait to get more with it. Only news story I have for TV, Ironheart added This Is Us star Lyric Ross to the cast. I'm going to comicbook.com by Jenna Anderson for this one. Marvel's Ironheart Disney Plus series has officially found its latest star. On Friday, The Hollywood Reporter confirmed that This Is Us star Lyric Ross has joined the cast of the upcoming series and will be playing the best friend of Rory Williams in Ironheart. Also among the cast is Hamilton and In the Heights star Anthony Ramos, who is reportedly portraying the series' villain. Ross is known for playing Deja Pearson on This Is Us, as well as having roles in Sirens and Chicago Fire. Fantastic actress, and I really cannot wait to see her on in the MCU because that's going to be a lot of fun.
Should be a blast.
Yeah, I'm just ready for the show because I'm curious to see what they do with it. Releases this week. We've got Thursday, March 3rd, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. The Kevin Smith season comes a new one. Get a new season on Netflix. Thursday, March 3rd as well. Star Trek Picard's new season on Paramount Plus. And I mean that's it for our TV for this week.
Cool. Um, On to the movies. So before we dig into this week's, did you watch anything else?
No, it's
No.
Destiny and Horizon.
Yeah.
It's all my eyes were glued to.
All right. Uh, Power of the Dog. This came out in 2021,
Yeah, that
and
full spoilers. We've got a year, so we can spoil the nonsense out of this one.
I saw it classified as a psychological drama, which is probably appropriate.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I got that one.
2 hours and 9 minutes. Um, it's set in 1925. That's when we first meet everybody involved. And let me get the cast list up. Well, I'll give a brief synopsis here from IMDb. Charismatic rancher Phil Burbank inspires fear and awe in those around him. When his brother brings home a new wife and her son, Phil torments them until he finds himself exposed to the possibility of love. So, it's a really good character piece. I'll
Mm-hmm.
say that. Benedict Cumberbatch is Phil. His brother George is played by Jesse Plemons. The woman that George marries, Rose, is played by Kirsten Dunst, and her son Peter is played by Cody Smith McPhee. So those are your four main stars of the movie.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you anybody else.
Um,
I'm sitting here looking at the cast. I'm like, I have
well,
no idea who any of these people were.
so there were two other people that immediately jumped out to me. One is Keith Carradine, who played the governor. All right, and then they call their parents old gent and old lady,
Mm-hmm.
and their mother is played by Frances Conroy, who a lot of people will immediately recognize for multiple seasons of American Horror Story.
Mm.
So, but this film essentially, George and Phil are on a cattle drive. They, I can't remember the name of the town,
Mm.
but they head into this town, and Rose owns a. It's not as small as a bed and breakfast. It's basically an inn
Yeah.
with a little dining room that's enough to hold probably about 20 people. And George falls for her. She has her son. Um, and as people apparently did a lot back then, they hung out a couple times and he pops the question.
Yeah.
It's like, why not? As
And
he tells her, huh?
he has money and
Yeah.
a successful life.
Well, and as he tells her at I think they've just gotten back to where he and Phil live.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets emotional and says it feels good not to be alone.
Yeah.
So you kind of get, in a way, you kind of get this feeling that he proposed just for that reason.
Yeah.
He was tired of being alone. Phil was his only companion. Um, so Phil doesn't take to it too well. He's kind of out of the loop. George and Rose got married without him knowing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he immediately has her pegged as a gold digger, basically. Um, So he does everything he can to make her uncomfortable, and even lets the guys that work for he and his brother make fun of her son
Mm-hmm.
and all sorts of stuff.
Even
Um,
her.
Even her, but especially the son.
Mm-hmm.
The son is he's different. He keeps to himself a lot. He reads. From the first time that they encounter him in the little diner, he had made some flowers for each table
Mm-hmm.
using cut up paper, and they just assumed that she had made it
Right.
because in their words it seemed like a womanly thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he did it makes him a target almost right away. Um, I'm looking for the name of, because no one played him in the movie. Bronco Henry.
Mm.
Bronco Henry is the guy that taught Phil and George about cattle
Right.
and how to ride
Ranching
and
and
all that. Yeah. But we find out as the movie goes on that Bronco Henry probably taught Phil a little something else.
yeah,
They,
something something not so manly back then.
right. So apparently they got rather close. And to the point that we're not going to get into all the details
Yeah.
of the clues that lead you down that path, but um, there is nudity in the film. We'll
Mm-hmm.
say that. Um, and there's certain actions by some of the characters that will give away exactly how far, especially Phil's relationship with Bronco Henry went.
Right.
Peter finds some magazines. They were, I forget what one of them was called, the one on top, but it was something about art or
Yeah, it was like a
art.
statue or like art pieces and.
Yeah, but then inside it was actually people
Mm-hmm.
posing like statues with no clothes on,
Right.
um, which was that day's porn magazines,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And they all had Bronco Henry's name on them, but Phil was obviously keeping
Mm-hmm. And a little
them. And
hideaway.
yeah, so then Peter sees Phil in a lake. I guess you would say he was bathing
Yeah.
because he apparently didn't like to use the tub in the house. He would go out to the lake. But then he sees Peter see him, and after that, his views of Peter change.
Mm-hmm. The relationship complete 180. I feel like
Yeah,
after that moment.
at least for Phil.
Yeah.
But Peter doesn't like Phil.
No, he's constantly tearing him down, trash talking his mom. I
Hmm.
mean, why would you?
So Peter goes out one day and he skins a, a cow.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't think it was a bull. He skins a cow and he brings the hide back
A
and
diseased cow skin.
yeah,
Oh, I can forget what the disease was now.
anthrax.
Anthrax.
So he gets it back, and you really don't see anything else with it
Mm-mm.
until Phil needs it to um, finish a lasso that he's making for Peter. And so Peter says, "Well, I've got this one." So Phil, who has an open wound on his hand, begins to soak the shredded hide that they're going to use to make this lasso, to make it a little more pliable. And that anthrax coming out of that hide gets into his blood through the open
Mm-hmm.
wound, and this ends up killing him, which seems to have been Peter's plan all along.
Yeah.
Peter's got a little bit of a dark side.
Well, he's very smart too, because I mean he's in school to be a doctor, a physician.
Yeah, I think this is like Dexter's grandfather or
Yeah,
something,
there's got to be
because
something right up that alley.
he traps a rabbit and brings it back to the house earlier in the movie, and he takes it to his mom, and she's petting it and loving on it, and one of the maids or whatever you would call her, she's young and she decides she wants to go up and she wants to give the rabbit a carrot. And she goes into Peter's room and he tells her to leave, and she goes on over to the table. He's sort of hunched over, and he's killed the rabbit, and he's
Hmm.
dissecting it, and he's making notes. He's making sketches and notes
Good
about what he's
doctor.
finding inside.
Back in the
You
day,
know,
1920. That's a good doctor, is what that is.
Peter Frankenstein.
Right.
Uh, but so he's different. He doesn't think twice about doing stuff like that.
Right.
So he doesn't have an issue with doing anything like that to Phil. And the thing about the movie is we never see Phil. He's definitely cruel,
Hmm.
but he's cruel verbally. We do at one point see him take I think it was a blanket or
Yeah, I think
something.
it's like a blanket, like a saddle, like the early parts of a
Yeah,
saddle. Yeah.
yeah, he's thrashing a horse across the face with it, and the horse is backing away. But that's the only physical cruelty I think we ever see from it.
Hmm.
It's usually just verbal. And interestingly, when there's a dinner scene, we find out Phil went to
Yeah,
college.
he was in Yale.
Yeah, and he studied the classics. I think they said. I
Hmm.
think he studied literature, and there was something else that they mentioned. So he's highly
Oh yeah,
educated.
he's a very smart guy.
Yeah,
Just
and it's
fell in love with a rancher.
yeah,
So.
and so that's what he does. But they're also very successful at it. So
Hmm.
uh, it's the performances in the movie are really good.
Hmm.
There's not a bad performance in the bunch, which with this kind of a cast you fully expect. If you don't know what it is going in, you're probably going to wonder what you're watching. Uh, as Tyler
Yeah,
raises his hand,
that was me.
it's one of those things where first off, it looks like a western.
Right.
You've got the cattle drive, you got horses, they're out on a ranch. I don't think we see a single shot fired.
Nope. Not
Which
one.
for a western, if you're going in thinking it's a western, you're expecting there to be some gunplay, something.
Sheriff's involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not that. This is a drama. Like I said, it's classified by some as a psychological drama. That fits it perfectly. Um, if you have an idea, if you listen to our conversation about it, or you read a synopsis to know what you're walking into,
Or read the book. Apparently,
or
this is
read the
based off a
book,
book.
you'll probably enjoy it more on a first time watch.
Hmm.
Um, I enjoyed it, but I kind of dig stuff that's different like this.
Yeah.
I gave it a 4 on Letterboxd. So it's one of those things where it's different enough too that I think if you're someone whose attention can wander when you're watching something, it's going to keep you interested more, I think, because you're trying to figure out what's going on and what kind of movie this is, and
Right.
you know, you don't feel like you can look away and still follow the story.
I thought going in for the most part, like when they flipped. So after he saw him bathing, after Peter saw Phil bathing, and then Phil was like, "Peter, come over here. I'm gonna teach you something." Like when they're getting ready to go ride or something. I think they were going to ride, and I was like, "Oh no, he's playing the long con. He's gonna kill him." And it's like he said, he was making this rope, and we find out that Peter's dad hung himself. So I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh no, he's making this rope, and he's gonna kill him and make him look like a suicide." I did not see us going down the path of Phil really enjoying Peter in
Yeah,
more ways than one. Because at
yeah,
first I was okay, we're got a father son relationship going on here, and then we see it turn not so much into that. Like it was starting to turn that way before
hmm,
Peter kills him, and I had to Google it just to the death because I was trying to put two and two together, and I forgot completely about the hide.
yeah,
Because she sells the hide or gives the hide away because they weren't going to use it, but it turns out he was going to use it for the rope because he was trying to make this rope before Peter went back to college. I mean, this must have happened like during break in the semesters,
yeah,
and like I was like, okay, so the relationship is great. And I was like, I really think he's going to kill him before he goes back to college, But then it was the other way around. We see Phil doesn't come down for breakfast that next morning, and he's ill. Goes to the doctor, and like that death just happened quick. Like he looked for
Mm-hmm.
Phil, couldn't find Phil, drops the rope, they drive off, and then the next thing we know, there's a casket, and they're looking for a casket. And I was like, oh, that happened quick. So that's why I Googled it, and I was like, oh, okay, I forgot about the hide that he took and everything, and that's how he got the open wound. And, I mean, it killed him overnight, and I wonder if the brother George knew that he was killed, because he even said to the coroner, he said, he never handled diseased skins ever. Like he downright refused to touch it. And so I don't know, because George knew his brother was a dick and was not liked. So, but I mean, he
Yeah.
constantly was calling Kirsten Dunst a drunk, and he's like, what's wrong with her? Well, she's a drunk.
Which
She's,
which
you
he drove her to.
yeah, which he was doing, and like
Cause she,
leaving stuff around. Oh, he was a horrible person.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, she even her character even picks up on this. Like they don't really I guess you would just call it intuition,
Yeah.
but she kind of picks up on that change in the relationship when they actually start spending
Well,
some
yeah, because
time
they
together.
started spending a lot of time together.
And a lot of people would have just thought, okay, great that they're getting along,
Right.
but she picks up on something not being right.
Mm-hmm.
And you're thinking it's because Phil
Yeah.
may have a thing for her son, but what's really not right is that her son's planning to kill Phil.
Mm-hmm. I think she probably
And
knew that too.
probably because she had to know the sorts of things he had done with animals
Yeah.
in
It's always
search of
starts with the small animals first.
knowledge,
Yeah.
you know. So she probably thought, oh, he doesn't like him and he's hanging out with him.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good. Yeah.
So I gave it a 2 out of 5 for me. No, a 2.5 is what I gave it. Not really, because it was slow for me, and I'm okay with it. But like that last, what, 15, 20, 30 minutes of the movie is like when things
Uh-huh.
start picking up, and like they're starting to tie clues in together and weaving those storylines in. There was a lot that I feel like could have been cut out from the very beginning. Um,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, we really didn't need a lot of this. I thought the torture of her living in the house, and then when Peter comes home, the torture of him, and then the flip was very interesting. But like the part where she was practicing for the governor and practicing the piano, and he comes in with the
Uh,
banjo and starts playing it better and over her. I was like, oh,
yeah.
what a jerk. I said, this is great.
Yeah.
And like he would leave the door open and wait for her to start playing and then play the song better and just keep stomping and going with her. And I thought it was very well done. So,
Yeah. It it's one of those things. I'm curious what you would think of it if you rescored it, if you sat down and watched it again,
yeah. I think
kind of knowing
even
what
with
you
like
were
reading
getting
the
for.
book,
Yeah.
seeing what would have been different of that relationship. But I
Yeah.
was going in looking for, thinking it was a Western, and got more of a. I could see why it's getting a lot of awards and nominations for things, because it was very
Mhm.
well done. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch's performance, I mean, and everything he does is just so good, and like he had me really deranged. Like he came in from the governor's party because they kept asking about him, and he said, "Well, I'm just some dirty man." He says, "I don't want to." I stink like a cow and all this other stuff, and I'm like, oh, he knows what people thinks about him, and it makes you think that people knew about his relationship with the other guy, is what like I it could be, and that's why he's the way he is. So I don't. I mean, it was. I could see his performance was so good, and I hope he gets awards
It
for it.
was. Yeah. It'd be deserved, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Next week, Murder Mystery with Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. You've seen this,
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna watch it again. I'm excited to watch it
I I've not, so this is going to be interesting.
because
Just
it's been long enough where I don't remember some of the plot points, but I remember the ending of it. So
I think it's well timed too because this was a much more serious movie than I thought it was going to be.
Hmm.
So ha so having murder mystery follow this is
Right.
probably going
A
to
little
be
bit of a
a
buffer.
nice, yeah, a little bit. Um, Notable news. We have one news item. One, just like for TV.
Hmm.
This comes from the Hollywood Reporter, and the byline is Aaron Couch. Says Disney sets Haunted Mansion release date for 2023. The film starring Rosario Dawson will bow on March the 10th, 2023. Um, it has the date to itself, as they note, with Warner Brothers Wonka due out a week later on March the 17th. The theme park inspired Haunted Mansion stars Rosario Dawson, Lakeith Stanfield, Tiffany Haddish, Owen Wilson, and Danny DeVito, and hails from Dear White People creator Justin Simeon. Follows a mother and son who come across a mansion that's more than it seems. Along the way, they meet eccentric characters who are key to unlocking a mystery. The project filmed in New Orleans and Atlanta late last year. I'm gonna be honest. So the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion
Hmm.
was all right,
Yeah.
but hopefully this will be,
I
especially
yeah.
from an effects standpoint.
Yeah, we're what, decades since that movie came out.
It was what 15 years,
Yeah,
something like that.
it's been early 2000s, as I say.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this has got a good cast with it. I mean, Rosario Dawson, Owen Wilson, Danny DeVito, to name the three that I'm familiar with. I think
Yep.
it's going to be a lot of fun. And Rosario Dawson, I'm pretty sure she plays the mother of the show,
Mhm.
because usually just a mother and a son.
Yeah.
And so I think it's gonna be fun. I just thought that was
You know,
the only big news for
you
movies.
know what would you know what would be funny is if Danny DeVito played the son.
Oh, so that would be great. Somehow, de-age him to make him the son.
Oh, they could do a Benjamin Button thing.
Yeah, that'd be
You
easy to do. Haunted
Yeah.
Mansion makes him young again, or something like that.
Um. So releases this week. The Batman hits cinemas on March the 4th. Now, before we get into games, I gotta ask you because I've been sharing this with a few people. I sent it to you. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it. I grew up an Elvis fan.
Hmm.
We're getting an Elvis film in June.
Right.
Did you get a chance to watch
I
the
haven't. I've got it
trailer?
slated because it's. I've got that. I've got Book of Boba Fett to watch today. I've got. I need to start Vikings Valhalla at some point on top of my normal podcasting stuff I watch. But yeah, it's on the slate for this morning. So, but I've been
The,
seeing you sharing it out on Twitter to a bunch of people. So,
it's uh it's a 3.5 minute trailer, and I was watching someone, uh, and they were talking about some movie stuff, and they mentioned it. And they said 3.5 minute trailer probably means it's at least two and a half, if not a 3 hour movie.
right.
Um, so I'm curious, but I'm curious about your reaction to it as somebody that's you know probably not as big of a fan as me.
Right.
So I feel like it's going to be a great film.
Let's see. What's it called? What's the movie called?
It's just called Elvis.
There it is. 2022 film. It's got Maggie Gyllenhaal in it. Austin Butler plays Elvis.
Tom Hanks is the Colonel.
Tom Hanks is the Colonel. Why do I know that name? Why does he look
Who?
familiar to me? Austin Butler.
I can't remember what it was he was in.
Is
He's done
he?
a few things.
Oh, the Shannara Chronicles. He's usually blonde headed. That's why it's thrown me off.
Okay.
He was in Arrow for 3 episodes. So,
He uh he pulls it off. I'm gonna tell you. There's one shot in the trailer where it's during the time they're filming the '68 special, and he's in the suit that that Elvis wore for the gospel number,
Mm-hmm.
the maroon suit with the white shirt, and he's sitting down, and I mean, it- no one's gonna look exactly like Elvis, but he looks very, very similar.
Pretty spot on.
Yeah. So it comes off really well in that sense. I'm curious what the later years are going to look like when the fuller head of hair, when it wasn't slicked back and the bigger sideburns, and but we'll see. It looks very
Baz,
promising.
Baz
So
Luhrmann's doing it.
in June or July, we may maybe we'll review it.
That'd be a fun one. We might even go see that in theaters. That'd be a good one to experience. Video games. Did you get any playing again this week at all?
Uh, Madden and some more Spider-Man.
Mm, I love it. I love Spider
Yeah,
Man. I want to play that again. I'm gonna have to play them both again before the new one comes out, which I'm thinking it's gonna be beginning of next year. We'll see.
yeah, yeah.
I am over halfway through Horizon Forbidden West. The game
Mm-hmm.
continues to impress me with how beautiful it is. Like I'm in San Francisco now, part of the game, and the beaches are beautiful. The underwater exploration I feel like is fun. Um, I've had maybe one bug or glitch. All it did was restart the game and pop right back up. It was fine. Um, but I continue to play it. It hasn't hit the story hasn't hit as hard to me as the first game did, but it's
Right.
continuation of it. So I'm really enjoying what they're doing with it. And I've already had a couple of oh crap moments that this is what's going on and how it's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm really excited because I'm at a point now, which I'm going to be playing it after work when I get time. But I'm at a point now where I'm at a pretty big story plot line, and I'm really wanting to delve in just to have like an hour or two to because I mean it's got some good story moments in it, lengthwise. But the big thing that I've been playing this week, as well as Destiny's 2's expansion, The Witch Queen, and I have played the campaign, and I've also done the legendary campaign on my main character. And like it's being praised from all the content creators, everybody, lore wise, gameplay wise, because they revamped a lot of the systems in it, or one of the systems, and we can now craft weapons, but the story is so good. Everyone says this is the best expansion they have ever put out, and they've been doing it for um, 8 years now, 7 years,
Mm-hmm.
and they like everyone is saying how great it is. I mean, to me, the story was, 10 out of 10. Like I don't think they could have done anything better. That makes me want it. They set up the new bad guy for the next expansion, Lightfall, which I think is going to come out next year, like September or some odd time. But so Savathun is the one that she's the Witch Queen, but
Mm.
she has been the villain for 4 or 5 years now, and this is the conclusion to her story. But I mean, it was so good. I can't wait to. And the new season's really well. We reset on Tuesday, and I just want to play more. But the story was so well done. Really enjoyed it, and I mean, I can't wait for next year's expansion because if it's anything like this one was, it's going to be so much fun. So,
Awesome.
and then I want to play Dying Light and Cyberpunk, but I mean, those are obviously on the back burner for these two games. But so we'll get there.
Yeah.
And then there's more stuff coming out in March. And anyways, only news I got for gaming is the Call of Duty game plan for 2023 has reportedly been delayed to 2024. This is huge news, and I'm going to IGN.com for this one. This is by Rebecca Valentine. Activision has reached out to IGN with a statement of the report that 2023's Call of Duty was released, being delayed to 2024. Quote, we have an exciting slate of premium and free-to-play Call of Duty experiences for this year, next year, and beyond. Reports of anything otherwise are incorrect. We look forward to sharing more details when the time is right. That's not a denial. So this report
Call it.
came from, oh God, I can't remember his name, Jason Schreier from Bloomberg, formerly
Mm-hmm.
with Kotaku, who is pretty much the number one games journalist. Period. Like he knows
Right.
all the developers. People come to him confidentially, and he reports these things. And he's the one that broke this story.
Hmm.
The original
Call of
story.
Duty's the new Halo.
Do what?
Call of Duty's the new
Oh
Halo.
no! So this is you have to understand. Call of Duty is the number one selling game every
Hmm.
single year. The original story is, according to Bloomberg, sources familiar with the situation, executives in charge of the franchise have made the decision early after a recent entry in the series failed to meet expectations. Talking about Vanguard, this is 2021's game, leading them to
Yeah.
believe that Call of Duty's current annual cadence of releases was too rapid. The decision is reportedly unrelated to the recent purchase, and the 2022 Call of Duty release track is still where they want it to be. But this is huge because for the first time in 18 years, I think is what it is, there has been a Call of Duty game released. So 2023 there will not be one, which pushes that into Microsoft's ownage. So I mean 2023 June is when they're saying they'll be finalized, and if they're releasing it in 2024, Microsoft will have 100% hand on top of that. So
Yeah.
I mean it's exciting, different news. So I'm excited to see where it leads from there.
Yeah.
Only released this week, Gran Turismo 7 comes out on March 4th for PlayStation 4 and 5, of course. If you've got a PlayStation 5, make sure you get it there. So, because it looks beautiful, just not my those little arena track racers are not my thing. For
Right.
Horizon,
Yeah.
Forza Horizon's my style, but
The road race.
yeah, road race. I like that
Yeah.
one, midnight ride, stuff like that.
Hmm.
But everyone, that has been this week's episode of the Nerdwide Podcast. Thank you so much for listening to it and or watching it. Don't forget to share on all your favorite social media platforms and forget to rate and review on your podcasting apps and services. On social media, you can follow the Nerdwide account at nerd_wide on Twitter. You can follow me at Ty_Haynes and Chris at MattFTN7. If you want to find us on Facebook, just search at nerdwide.com in the little search bar and you will find us there. But guys, thank you so much for watching and listening, and we cannot wait to share next week's episode with you then.
Later, guys.